I'm a big Lang Bading Bilkwe from Parian, Lengno County, Ruang administrative area. I joined SPLA in 1984, January, and I trained as a soldiers with Corium divisions, Battalion Cobra, and graduated with Lion Battalion as a combat engineer officer. We went to Joko in 1985. From there, we were transferred to Bor, where we had fought 10,000 division of Arab that were heading to Bor from Juba. It took us 6 months until the Interbor. And from there, in 1986, I went to Faring to see my parents. Mom, she was there. And that was killed in 1967 during Anyanya 1 as an officer in Anyanya 1. And my grandfather, Mading Bilkwe, was alive and left alone, nobody taking care of him because the only son that was taking care. Second to that, I've been a soldier in Parian during the liberation area as an officer, was promoted in 1991. As officer during Riek Machar first split of 1991. We were the very people who have detected Riek plots against SPLA, and we had actually confronted and we resisted until now Faru become a stronghold of SPLA. It is our own making. From there, I roll in civil work. I become a CMA. Which is Civil Military Administrator in Farian. That was in 1990 to 1991. And 1991, I became an adjutant of Commander John Mayirija, who is the field commander of Fanaru area during the Riek resistance coup. So I became an adjutant. Adjutant in the military language is a secretary, which is office manager for the commander. So I was with John Mayik from 1991 until 1995, serving in a different and various departments. So I work with Mayik. We are in the military field, civil work, until he appointed me as a headship of appeal court in Farian in 1993. Both I'm serving as an adjutant and I'm also a head of appeal court. Until 1995, when Mayik was removed from the command and Majang Dao took over. I had been together with Majang from 1995 up to 1997, when Majag was appointed as SRR Executive Director in 1997. From there, he left Fariang and became me as an acting commissioner of Ruang County when the Ruang was created by Dr. John Garang. I became an acting. So I worked as acting until 2001. I was an acting commissioner. At the time, Lubardiar was killed. Majak was taken to Yei, and we also sent as a witness to go and say actually what exactly was taking place during the events. So we went to Yei in 2001. And we had been in court with Majak until 2003. So 2004 and 3, I went back for a school in Uganda to pursue my diploma, where I have actually obtained my diploma in public administration, public and local government administrations. The fees was signed in 2005, and from there, we had to go to Fariang as a delegation for peace and reconciliation of people of Fariang or Ruang County. So I had the delegation to Fariang, and the delegation was a very huge delegation comprised of so many senior officers and junior officers. We went and met the commissioner. By then was Mijong Lang, but it seemed there was no harmonies and a good understanding between us and the command or the commissioner of the Ruang by then. So the conference fails until the peace implemented when Dr. John Garang went to Khartoum, and we also went to Bentiu. We stayed in Bentiu until the government was formed. Taban was appointed as a governor in August, and then in November I had been appointed as a commissioner of Pariang County by that. So this is where I went to Fariang, and I served in Fariang 2005 until 2012 as a commissioner of Fariang. In Farian, 2012, I was relieved from the post because of disagreement between me and Taban, and appointed Majong Gadet as my successor. He went to Farian and had been a commissioner, and I came to Juba. I stayed here in Juba until Taban was removed in July 2013, and one was appointed as a governor, and I've been appointed as a deputy governor of Unity State. Unfortunately, the 2013 crisis erupted in December 15th, and the war broke out, in the region. So I've been in war until 2015, when the 28 states were created. And from there, I was actually optimistic that I will be the first governor of Ruang State, because I was representing Ruang in Bantu and Unity State as a whole. So if there is a chance for bringing a new governor, it would have been me to go and establish, because I was very optimistic. But due to our local politics within Padang, things had been changed, fall apart. Mayul was brought as a governor. And they don't say anything. I did not complain because I'm getting myself, I'm capable. And nobody actually can blame me if I'm given a task. I should not fail you. Actually, this is what I know. Mayul became a governor, and I stay until Mayul was removed by agreement, or Addis Ababa agreement of 2015, which gave Ruang to Ayo. And Teji Adwad became a governor of Ruang State on Ayo ticket. Within 75 days, Teji resigned from Ayo because of politics of Taban, and Tom capitalized that chance and has lobbied for himself to join Ayo, which actually was not new to us, because when I was the deputy governor of Unity State, I got ill policies of Temachar in Pariang until led to his imprisonment in December 2013, because he was allied to Taban, but he's working as internal cells by then. So Tom became the governor on Ayo ticket. And I was in Uganda. And one president was looking for someone that was going to represent him in SPLM. I was called from Uganda. And then I've been appointed as a deputy governor and SPLM chairperson at the same time for Ruang State. So I went, become a deputy governor of Ruang State. We have been at the political wrangle with Temachar as an Ayo and an SPLM. So we had a very fierce fighting during that political fighting. Until 2019, Tem was removed from the governorship, and the book was recommended by Taban and become a successor to Tem. And I remained 1 month as a deputy governor and SPLM chairperson, but Wabok had been lobbying for it and been supported by Taban that we have become an SPLM, so Wabok should be given the chairmanship of SPLM. So after 32 days, the president relieved me from the post of deputy governor and the post of SPLM chairperson, and Wabok was appointed as SPLM chairperson, and we took him to Farian. I accompanied him to Farian. I handed over all the SPLM assets, all SPLM documents to him, so that, and I pledged that I will work with you, will help you as an SPLM. Unless if you are not going to follow SPLM policies, this is where we will differ with you. But if you are following SPLM policies, we have no problem, because this is our giant party, and when everybody will come and serve it. This is what I told them. And we are finished. And from there, I came back to Juba, and I stayed to Juba. Until now, I'm staying in Juba. So when the government was dissolved and the county returned back to Tiny State, and Ruang administrative area has been created, I told people that I'm not going to contest again, because I've been contesting for this position, and I'm knowing myself I'm capable. But if a president always leave me without appointing me, so I don't want to contest again. This is what I told people. Since by then they won, But my supporters actually forced me, you must contest, you must contest. I said, okay. I will send my document. So I handed my document to the leadership, and we are waiting. I was about to be appointed, but unfortunately the position given to Allah. I said, okay, there's no problem. Shol was appointed, and I'm the first person to congratulate him. And I went to his house, and I prayed that I will work with you, I will support you. So this is what happened. But unfortunately, during my brother Shola Wallet has been occupied and controlled by those of Tamashar. So if he opted to be with those of Tamashar, I distance myself. So I'm now staying. I have nothing with them. I'm not even contesting for a position, but the leadership will decide. If they want me, I will come. If they don't want me, I will not put my shoes to go and hunt for the position. Because this position I've been hunting for it for a very long time. And my bad luck or whatever in mind of the president, so I don't want to disturb them again. I'm now staying as a citizen of Ruang State, Ruang area, Pariang County, Legno County, and I will support if somebody is seeking support from me. I will support. If he doesn't say anything from me, I'm staying. So this is all about my biography on military, politically, and socially. So that's what I have to actually explain. And thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Being stolen from their lands. We're taken to see the evidence of what they claim government forces are doing to ensure that theft can continue. Just days ago, the attackers came here to Jam Jam village.
20 people killed, 38 children and women abducted.
How many homes destroyed?
Over 2,000 houses.
How many?
over 6,000 in the whole area. Yeah,
6,000 homestays, including 16 churches, chapels.
People are in the bush.
Now you can see that
People are, we'll get more people now here.
people are now starting now to rebuild.
To build now.
Michael Manuel's house is now just a pile of ashes. He describes the attack that took place.
The enemy came here to come and collect the people to go in their hand and to join them. Family, no, I took them safe. So now they are hungered, there are no food for them. The food was brought by WFP, it's not enough for them.
He takes us to the hospital where he worked as a medic. It's now a burned, blackened ruin. 3 hospitals, 16 churches, schools and 6,000 homes were burned in attacks lasting 10 days. Further on, the scorched remains of one of those churches. Local Commissioner Stephen Mabok explains the full extent of the raids.
When the enemy carried out offensives, it attacked us first by the air through Antonov and followed by gunship. This is on 9 and 10. Then on 12, the enemy came out from town in Faring and they carried out operation offensive against the people, burning the villages and killing innocent people and abducting all the children and women. The government force that came were estimated to be 700 men, supported by tanks and heavy artillery from Faring. And from Liri, the enemy came from Liri is also estimated to be 500.
Survivors living in the bush face starvation as a direct result of this attack.
They killed one of my family, my sister. We need food, clothes, just basic things to survive.
They say the motive behind the attack is oil.
Is to exploit the oil, without any fear from the SPLA, attacks or threats in any time. So the reason for this attack is to clear the area and also to remove all the people to the town.
Our pictures appear to show otherwise, as do eyewitness testimonies from those who live here.
A lodge, village first and kill almost 11 persons in that attacks. All of them are innocent civilians.
The main incentive in this area for the government, as far as the government is concerned, is really they want the land so that they can do their oil exploration freely without any encumbrance from the local people who would like to resist the exploitation of their resources. This was a church compound. The food stores, the accommodation was burnt down in the whole area, including school.
There are abuses. He disputes whether the government is involved. It's clearly a cosy relationship. As the government admits, oil revenues will be used to produce arms. And it's just such weapons that were used in the attacks. We're shown where villagers hid from raids by Antonov planes and helicopter gunships.
When there was Antonov bombing, I have to bring my children inside here and go under the ground. They have to be in shelter, because when there is a bombardment, children can be saved like this. And we have nearly to close it. I was near to close it, had a hole, and put the sun on it.
The victims of the air raids were innocent civilians. We're shown the craters and the shrapnel left by bombing. He points out the spent machine gun cartridges, where government soldiers opened fire on civilians. We have had them examined by top arms experts in the UK.
The attacks on the civil population is part and parcel of the government military strategy. It's part of jihad, and it is this is allowed in terms of their strategy. So they have been doing this. Their forces consist of regular troops, of what they call mujahideen, of what they call morhalin, and all these target the civil population. In Ruang country, this is where the oil is, and so they want to depopulate that area.
Western companies may see money flowing from the oil fields of Sudan, but the thousands of civilians who fled into the swamps wouldn't agree. The question the world community should now ask is what price the people here will be forced to pay for oil.